All right, so in part two here, we're talking about the actual photos and the process of taking these photos. We start our investigation by taking a picture of a photo placard. That is a way of letting us know that all the following photos in this series of pictures will belong to this case. Now we move into our overalls. Part of giving an overall view of the scene is location establishment. So we need to get a photo of the street signs with the house in the background, picture of the house with the house numbers. If it's a business, the front of the business with the business name. For, county sheriff's folks, the fire number signs down at the end of the driveway, whatever the case may be. We want to get 2 or 3 pictures which really let us know this is where we're at. There's no question about it. We are at 123 Main Street. We are at Burger King on Oneida. We are at wherever it is that this crime took place at. Then I want to do a full 360 of my location, if possible. There are some locations, it's just not practical. Some of your industrial settings and whatnot. But even then, you can still figure out a way to do it 360 at some point during your investigation. So, go around the structure, take pictures, looking at the front of it, the side of it, down the angles, on the biases, whatever terminology you want to use, and do a complete 360 of the structure. Oftentimes, we say the minimum coverage is to stand out at the edge looking at the structure. When practical, I also like to stand at the structure looking back out. And this gives us a good overview of where we're at, what our points of access into the crime scene were, what our paths of travel to exit the crime scene might be, and all the details and minutia that are out there at the exterior part of the crime scene. When we get into an interior crime scene, now we're going to start, doing what is typically the 4 corners. So, you come into a room, take a picture from the door frame, and then we kind of take a picture from each corner of the room. You get to the hallway, you take a picture looking down the hallway. Get into the next room, take a picture now, like a bedroom or something. You've got your door frame typically right in the corner, so we'll take a picture from the door frame looking into the room, and then each corner of the room. And picture looking back down the hallway, door frame looking into each corner of the room. We have something like a closet looking into that closet. The concept here of our overalls is to give you the big picture. Where's the furniture? Where are items in the room? Where are the windows? Where are the doors? What does the room look like? With our overall pictures, we are not focusing on any individual piece of evidence. What we are doing is focusing on the grand scheme of things of what does this room look like? What does this space look like? And when you start dealing with, say, like a room in a hallway, where's the hallway? How does this space interact with the other spaces? So what we're doing here is not looking for evidence. What we are doing is showing the geometry of our area. The evidence will, yes, be visible in these photos, but that is not our focal point. Our focal point is showing everything. So, for example here, we're going to go through an overall mid-range close-up progression of a damaged vehicle. This is just one overall of many. There would be overalls doing a 360 of this vehicle that has been struck in this parking lot. And so here we see we've got the overall vehicle. We can see, part of the license plate. We'd have, again, additional overalls over from the side more so that we're looking straight into the bed of the truck and we can read that license plate. But we have this truck. We can see it's a, 2-door pickup truck with the extended cab. I don't know if that's a 3rd door option or not. But we've got, the 2-door pickup truck here. It's got some damage already. It's a work truck. Obviously, it's got some logoing on it and some numbering. It's got a commercial plate. But we can see there's a pretty new dent here, and you can see some damage here. This damage is not the focal point of our picture. The focal point of our picture is showing this truck in the parking lot in this space. Now we move into more of a mid-range. Okay, we're trying to show that on this truck there's damage. So what we're doing is we're showing here's the body panel, here's the wheel well, here's the damage. And now we've got some ideas. So if you think about this photo and then you think about this photo, you know exactly where we are in the truck. You don't have to be a truck expert. You don't have to be a car expert. You don't have to be a vehicle expert. We're visually storytelling. Step 1, step 2 through the story. So step 1, our overall. Step 2, oh look, there's some damage. And now step 3, all we're showing is the damage, where we have paint transfer, where we're actually going to collect some evidence from. this big dent is nice, but right here there's paint transfer. You might not see it in the mid-range photo, or you might not see the details of it. That's why we do the close-up. If all I gave you was this photo, if this photo was not preceded by these photos, you wouldn't know where this is. All you would be seeing is, well, that's a scratch on a piece of metal. Am I on a car? Am I on a truck? Am I on an airplane? Am I on a boat? What is, is this even a vehicle? Is this part of a house? Is this like the window or door to something? And this is metal siding. You don't know unless you visually tell the story of the overall, the mid-range, and the close-up. Now we've got this paint transfer, and the paint transfer here, the metal transfers, we can scrape, we can collect as trace evidence, which you talk about in the impression evidence class, and we can get into sending this off to the lab and doing all that work. All right, let's do one more example. Let's walk through one more scene. These are some photos I took. This is a favorite fire of mine. Unfortunately, it was a case that we never did solve. We know who did it. We know what happened, but we never did get a confession. And quite frankly, it was a situation that, no harm, no foul, I guess. That doesn't sound right, but it was a situation where yes, we have an arson, but there was, the victimization here was minimal, and, we'll just leave it at that. But what we have here is, our overall picture. Location establishment has already been done. We've got pictures of the street sign. We've got pictures of the number at the end of the driveway. And what we have here is the driveway. It's hard to see in this image sometimes on the YouTube projection, but there's a driveway coming up here. Makes a dogleg back to the garage. Front door to the house is here. There's a sidewalk coming down to the gravel driveway right about here. We've got this big tree. This is an addition to the house that is a kitchen area. So here's my mid-ranges. Fire's pretty much out, and what we have here is that sidewalk I was telling you about. Here's our gravel driveway. You can see the garage back here. So we're putting this image into context. Right here is what's important, and this is, when we look at it in close-up, the nozzle off of a gas can. So again, we'll go back. Overall, visual storytelling. House on fire. Somewhere right about here is that nozzle. You can't see it in this picture. That is not the purpose of this picture. The purpose of this picture is to show you the layout of the scene. House, front door, the sidewalk is here, kitchen is here, garage is here, driveway is here. There are additional photos that were taken later. I just like showing this one because it got a big ball of fire. Sidewalk, front door to the house, blocked by a firefighter. Not a big deal. That's a reality. We try to get our pictures without distractions, but sometimes they're there. So, just showing you that if possible, remove the distractions, but sometimes they'll be there. Sidewalk, nozzle, sidewalk or driveway going down to the garage. There's another sidewalk going up to the kitchen door. That was the addition of this new expanded kitchen on this house. And here we have our gas nozzle. Now notice there is some discolorization and heating to the gas nozzle, and when we look at how it's laying, look how hot this fire was. You have all this grass that's burned, the trees burned, you even have some scorching of the grass on the other side of the driveway. So we have some melting going on here. Long story short, this was an abandoned house. It was outside of the city limits. There was some suspected drug activity going on at the house, and where I'm standing taking this picture is actually in the neighbor's driveway. And so what we suspect happened was when we arrived, the neighbor is mowing his lawn, and we had again, this house is abandoned. The folks who lived here had moved away. They weren't able to sell it, and they just abandoned it. And it became a place for some of our local meth cooks to try and cook meth on the weekends, late at nights. The homeowner over to the next door neighbor would call the police all the time. Of course, it was in the county's jurisdiction, so the city, we'd forward it over to the county. The county would, by the time they'd get out there, nobody would be there because they were always busy on Saturday nights. And so we're pretty sure that the neighbor, gasses up his lawnmower. He's looking across his driveway at the other driveway, sees that abandoned house, sees there's nobody around, made a little gas trail, poured a little gas trail. And as he's walking back to his house, he must have dropped that funnel, or must have dropped that nozzle. I mean, not funnel. And unfortunately, we found it. There was no fingerprints on it. It was damaged. We interviewed him. He never admitted to doing it. The folks who technically owned the house, even though it was abandoned, They had dropped their insurance on it, so, you know, there's no insurance payout on this. They basically said, don't pursue it, we don't care. And, you know, the next door neighbor basically just said, I don't want to talk, I want a lawyer. We never did find out, but, you know, we know what happened, but it's one of those where in the grand scheme of things, how much resources are we going to spend on this case? So, while at a certain extent, I am a little upset that we never did get charges on it, I do know I solved this case, and, you know, we do know what happened. We'll just never actually see some jail time for somebody on it, but, you know, it is what it is. All right, so that is it for this recording. We'll have some additional information I want to finish up, so there will be a third recording this week where we'll get into talking about, you know, close-ups with scale, using those little photo tents, and some other things to think about with this whole process. See you in the next recording.